Good morning. Yesterday would have been my 200th birthday, and I can't begin to think of celebrating about when there's people that really struggled during times of war, and particularly the Crimean War, when more than 4,000 people were just left to die because of filth and because of the powers that be cared very little about the hygiene and the processes on the war front. It was a silly war, really. We were trying to help the French against the Russians at the bottom of the Black Sea, and it became known as the Black Death because so many people died. There was just filth and rats and disease. So people weren't dying of the war wounds, they were dying of the disease and starvation. I pleaded with my royal connections to let me go, and they didn't want to let me go at first. But I don't take no for an answer. I think I was born ahead of my time. I didn't want to be suited up for a marriage of keeping house and keeping my tongue. No. I had a job to do. I had work, that people that needed me. And eventually they called me Lady of the Lamp. But in that Crimean War, I sadly picked up the bug myself. So when I go back to London, for a long, long time, I was housebound. But with my connections and my men friends, women could be so flighty talking about girdles and hair. I preferred the talk of humanities and logic and maths. I was really good at maths. And one of my friends taught me how to do statistics, and I started doing statistics. So what I did was I pored over all those results of deaths from the war and came up to the conclusion that our camp had a much higher rate of infection due to lack of cleanliness. So bet a few of you don't know I was good at statistics. But I raised the standard. I'm proud to say that I raised the standard. And as for that Mary Seacole woman who came from Jamaica and gave tea to all those ladies, all those suffering people on the front lines, she came with her Jamaican cures of witchcraft and gave people comfort. I'll give her that. They gave people comfort, but she did nothing to raise the standards of nursing, even though she tried and tried again, and she built a hotel. But that's for another story. That's another discussion. I'm just pleased to see that in the 200 years since my birth, the standards of profession of nursing has been raised, and that the nurses themselves are recognized, and that women can choose to go that way should they choose. And while I'm caring for the ill and the ailing, I just want to think of all those nurses and nurse aides and nurse assistants and friendly smiling people who do such a good job, particularly now across the world where the attention has been focused once again on the nurses during this period of modern plague, which doesn't have anything like the deaths that I witnessed. But I must say, the hygiene and the cleanliness, and definitely the rodents, has been much, much improved. So I give a moment of thought to all those sacrifices in that war, all those, both from the people that died and from the women that helped with me, care for those ailing poor soldiers who within day one started to get sick, but not from the war, but from the infection and the terrible, terrible unsanitary conditions. And I'm giving thought to those who gave their life of sacrifice to tend to those on the field. And I hope you do too. So we can clap at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, depending where you are in the world. But I want you to think of all the people gone past, both serving and served, and spare a thought for those that don't have the care. God bless you all.